days ago, the Vice President, Kashim Shettima, inaugurated the 188 megawatt geometric power plant in Abia State, accelerate power supply to industrial clusters in the region. The power plant, described as a first integrated electricity facility in Nigeria, is located in the Osisioma industrial area of the southeastern state. It is understood that the Abia Power Limited Electric, a new electricity distribution company, will take electricity from the plant and supply it to 9 local government areas out of the 17 that we have in Abia State. It's been described as the biggest investment in the southeast zone of Nigeria. The geometric power is said to have been expended about $800 million on this integrated power project, which includes the building of a 27-kilometer natural gas pipeline from Owaza in Ukwa West LGA in Abia to the Osisioma industrial layout in Abia. Since the launch of that project, there have been series of debates over the matter, but tonight we'll be getting some insight and we'll be hearing, like they say, the horse's mouth tonight. And I'm being joined tonight by the Executive Governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Otti, who joins us live from Huma here, the capital of Abia State. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Good evening, listeners. Thank you for having me.
I must congratulate you for perhaps a milestone in the history, not only of Abia, but of Nigeria. But if everyone would complain over the years, we're over 40 years. We've complained about epileptic power supply. And for some reasons, if a part of Nigeria is going to be enjoying an industrial zone as Abia is going to be enjoying an uninterrupted power supply, that is not only a miracle in our time, but it's a good news. Give us an understanding, because there are a lot of talks about what happened, how this happened, but give us an insight briefly about this.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your kind words, and we are glad that the geometric has taken off after all. This is a project that was started in 2004. The former governor of Abia State, distinguished Senator Otti Zokalo, was the one on seat at that time, and he gave all the necessary waivers and approvals, and geometric started work. Sometime in 2010, like I reported, Professor Bat Nnaji walked into my office, then as Executive Director of First Bank, and to appeal that the former bank that was funding the project, owing to the global economic crisis of that time between 2008 and 2009, had stopped funding the project midway, and he needed support to complete the project. We processed an $85 million facility for him, and unfortunately, he couldn't draw down that facility because the board of the bank felt that because I was proceeding to Diamond Bank as the CEO, that it would not make any sense to allow the company to withdraw the facility or to draw on the facility when the person that was going to manage it was not there. I believe it made a lot of sense because understanding the project is as important as dispersing the money. So I was headed to Diamond Bank, which actually was the bank that was initially funding the project. So on getting to Diamond Bank, we did a few things, restructured the facility, and saw it to completion by October 2014, the time I left Diamond Bank. But a lot of things happened thereafter, and that made it impossible for the project to take off. There was the unfortunate sell and resell of the Abia First Island. And that took a life of its own. And when that was resolved, Shell, which owned the major oil block that was supposed to supply gas to Geometric, had alienated the oil block and sold it to another company whose major focus at that time was not gas. Or even if it was not gas for domestic use, but for export. And by the time we took over on the 29th of May, we sat down with Geometric a few times and then engaged with NNPC. And subsequently, NNPC deployed their partners and gas was made available. Therefore, the 141 megawatts geometric power, that's the capacity at this time, but it's expandable to 181 megawatts when the final turbine is delivered. So it was commissioned on Monday by His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Senator Kashim Shettima, and then a lot of friends of Abia and members of his entourage. The good news right now is that as we speak today, the third turbine has been fired. So the 3 turbines are on. It will take anywhere between another 7 to 10 days to test all the electrical equipment, the transmission lines, the substations, and maximum in 10 days, at least 141 megawatts of power will be available for the Abia ring-fenced island. My discussion with Professor Bat Nnaji is that Abia at the moment may not require more than 80 megawatts of power. So close to another 60 megawatts of power will be available, which in the first instance will be channeled to the national grid. We expect that with the discussions we are having with EEDC, that part of that capacity would go to Umuahia. So we're discussing with EEDC on some arrangements to also isolate the Umuahia island, and that would include the remaining 8 local governments of Abia State, so that we can also begin to have, even if I don't say constant supply of power, I believe that power outage will be the exception rather than the rule, which is the situation at this time.
All right. Thank you for the background that you have laid. But also, it might also be good for our viewers to know that that project is perhaps the very first of its kind as the first independent and integrated power utility in Nigeria. So in some sense, it's the first. I'd like you to emphasize or say tonight or clarify for us tonight, two quick things. Your predecessor, Governor Ikpeazu, did he play a major role in the success of this project?
Well, it's difficult for me to say, but I'm aware that he joined the geometric management team to South Africa sometime in 2018 or 2019 to sign a loan agreement of about $50 million, part of which was used to settle the dispute between Geometric and EEDC. But the records available to me do not show that the government guaranteed that loan. So the loan was given on the back of the assets of Geometric. So it's difficult for me to say what other thing he did, but I'm also aware that there is an argument going on in the media about a 5% investment, which would have equated $5 million, which the Abia state government is said to have been made into the project. I do not have any documents to that effect. That was not handed over to me either. So it's just an argument. But I've also asked the Commissioner for Finance and others, including the Accountant General, to go through and let's find out if there is any truth to that. So other than those two issues, I'm not too sure there's any other thing that I would say he did, to the best of my knowledge. But maybe Geometric will be in a better position to respond specifically to that question.
Okay. So I'd like also to know, so let's clarify. So Abia State does not have any equity stake in that project.
Okay, so that's the point that I'm raising. To the best of our knowledge, we do not have evidence that Abia State does have equity. But I had engaged with some of the management staff of Geometric who informed me that there was an offer of 5% equity to Abia State government, but the Abia State government didn't finish paying up. So I had set up a team to engage with Geometric so that we can dig into the facts. You know, some of these, you don't just begin to make claims because we need to have the facts, we need to have the documentary evidence. So as we speak now, I do not have any evidence that Abia State does have investment. But it would be nice to discover that Abia State does have investment. 5% of a big project of $800 million is a big deal, and I'll be very glad to benefit as a state from the equity of Geometric.
All right. So let me also ask you, in all of these arrangements, yes, direct benefit to the people of Abia State, especially because of the industrial cluster, business will boom, and perhaps Aba will be able to be more productive than it's ever been. But this is a 20-year concession that was guaranteed from the federal government. But there was a bill to allow power generation to be on the concurrent list. Does this change anything for the state government in all of these arrangements?
Absolutely, it does. In the first place, the concession is still on, but then because power generation has moved from the exclusive list to the concurrent list, so the government of Abia State would have a say in how the business of power is done in Abia, and that is why we count ourselves as very lucky, because this is probably the first place that this kind of integrated power project has been commissioned. The good news about Geometric is that it's not only a generation or generating company, it is also the transmitting company and, of course, the distribution company. If you follow what happens with power in Nigeria, you'll find that a lot of power that is generated is lost in transmission. So today, Geometric is in Aba, and it is transmitting and distributing in Aba. So we believe that nothing will be lost. So you don't need to put the energy in the national grid and then maybe it returns back to you or it goes elsewhere. So it's a big deal and we are very excited about it.
I mean, it's heart-wrenching, isn't it? That this project we're talking about, which is being launched in 2024, was first muted and started around 2005. Then President Obasanjo was in government at the time. There was President Yaradua, President Goodluck Jonathan, President Buhari, and now President Bola Tinubu. 4 presidents in Nigeria had run in this country while all of this conversation took place for a 20-year concession. And when we wonder what kind of society we are in, where frustration about investment come up. There are talks about sabotage. There are talks about how these efforts were being frustrated. Good news is that it has been established, it's get off the ground. But who are these saboteurs? Can you tell us, Governor Otti? Because when you are a banker, you had an understanding. There are a lot of Igbo leaders who stood up at the time who said saboteurs do not want these projects to take off and to happen. Who are these saboteurs? Let Nigerians learn today how these saboteurs can no longer hold this country by the jugular.
Thank you, Sharon. Let me start from the positive side of the story, and that is that Professor Bart Naji and his team were very resilient. If they were not the strong-willed people they were, I believe they would have thrown in the towel a long time ago. Like you said, it actually started in 2004. So this is exactly 20 years after it started. But you see, the problem that you run into is the problem of the single story, like Sister Chimamanda Adichie would say. It is not just saboteurs. There may have been saboteurs, even though I'm not in a position to say who saboteurs are, because I've not done an investigation, and I'm not sure that there is anything that is documented. But there are a few things that happened. I told you my own story about the global economic recession. And it was real that the bank that started the funding at that time stopped for 2 years. And they didn't stop just because they wanted to stop, because no bank would take on this kind of project and want to abandon it halfway. Because as soon as you abandon it, you have put the money that you have put in the project at risk. But they were faced by circumstances beyond their control, and they couldn't continue with the funding of the project. At the time I came into funding the project, I had to do a few things. One of the things I did was to engage with Central Bank of Nigeria. Luckily, the then Central Bank governor understood from where we were coming and allowed the part of the facility that had been created to be absorbed by the AMCOM, Asset Management Company of Nigeria. And that created headroom for Diamond Bank of those days to continue to fund this project. So that's number one. Number two was about the time we completed the project. And I remember clearly it was completed in 2014. The 27-kilometer gas pipeline was laid, and then the 3 GE turbines were delivered in the country. And they were actually ready to start operation. But somehow, I think the major thing that happened at that time was that in selling Enugu Disco, I believe it must have been a mistake. The ring-fenced island of Abia, comprising the 9 local governments from Isialangwa North all the way to Upper West, including Abia North and Abia South, were sold a second time. That should not have happened. And that led to a lot of problems. Somebody said, I have paid for this place. Somebody else says, I have this place as an island given by a previous government. And that issue did not get settled until after a few years. And of course, the next issue that I've highlighted here, where the oil block was sold, and anyway, so anybody can sell his property anytime that he wants to sell it. Unfortunately, there was an underlying contract for Shell to provide gas to Geometric. Unfortunately, when a new buyer came in, priorities were different, and it took the intervention of government to now get gas into geometric. So the summary of what I'll say is that there are quite a lot of factors that contributed and conspired against this project taking off earlier than now. But the good news, Shehu, is that we now have power in Aba. I think that's the most important thing.
It is actually for me. I mean, I wish I was living in Aba to experience what some of us, the up-NEPA generation, will appreciate more. But quickly, I'm due for a break. But I'd like to know this, quick one. If the opportunity presents itself, will the Abia state government invest in this project?
Okay, so this is a question that you just don't hit your hand on your head and respond to. It depends on what the government is looking at. If the government has excess money and wants to invest, it's a good place to invest. But it depends on how long you also intend to reap from that your investment. Right now, there have been cost overruns. So in terms of return on investment, you will need to wait for a while. And that's why I said in my speech that geometric should not expect their returns in the short to medium term. But on the long run, I believe that is a very good project. But beyond that, beyond that, there are a lot of other benefits. First of all, that you are talking about power. Power is life. You have light, you're able to cool your place, you are able to heat your place, you're able to charge devices. Of course, the issue of security and insecurity. You're able to power machines, you're able to run micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises, the big enterprises, the manufacturing outfits, the fabrication plants, just name it. You're able to generate employment both from the power plant and all the value chain that it creates, and then you're able to keep businesses running. There's a whole lot. So it's not just a matter that you look at from the Naira and Kobo part.
Yeah, because, I know that this has a 360-degree advantage for the people of Abia State, but I thought that I might be able to extract this quickly from you in a few seconds before we go on our break. But, I mean, as a banker, you must be seeing money in sight as soon as they fire those turbines. The banker in you will be telling you in Naira and Kobo the kind of revenue that will accrue possibly from the Aba industrial zone. Give us an understanding of the amount in figures that you have been able to put your mind to. How much of, in terms of percentage, will this be for the revenue coming from Aba industrial layout?
Oh, wow. When you look at it from that point of view, this is a win-win for everybody. That in terms of Naira, and that's one good thing about the geometric project, and I was happy that Professor Naji's wife reminded me that I insisted in 2014 and converted all their dollar loan into Naira, and today they are happy that it happened. So in the $800 million outlay, I think it's only $50 million that are in foreign currency. The rest are in local currency. So over time, this is going to be very profitable. And the profit continues ad infinitum, even for Abia state government in terms of generating internal revenue. When you have the businesses coming back, when you have the shoemakers in area market being able to produce at half the cost just because of power. So you can't begin to quantify the benefits in terms of Naira and Kobo.
All right.
This is huge, huge one.
Right. Let's go on a break. Stay with me, Governor Otti, because when we come back, we'll move away from geometric and we'll move into some national issues, and we'll also talk about some residents and traders in Area market who are complaining about illegal tax collectors that have since emerged. What are you doing to deal with that? Or some of the promises you've made? You said you will make light rail happen when you become governor. Have you started that? We'll be discussing some of these issues when we return from this break, everyone. Staying with us. We've been having a conversation with the governor of Abia State, Dr. Alex Otti. We began our conversation earlier on the geometric power plant, the IPP project that since took off and was launched on Monday, a project which came to light around 2004, 2005, and crossed about the administration of almost 4 presidents in this country. We will be joining Governor Alex Otti back and to discuss some other national issues and issues relating to Abia governors. Governor Alex Otti has been speaking with us from Umahia in Abia State, which is the capital of the state. All right, then. Let me get back to Governor Otti. Thank you so much, Governor, for staying with us. But before I go into the governance of Abia State, give us an understanding, and we'd like to glean from your understanding and your knowledge of banking and how money works. The Naira is on a free fall, and recently the CBN, the federal government, is doing its best. And some of these issues, Binance yesterday, Mr. Abayo Ononuga said on this program, is one of those companies that they think that should be, the activities should be monitored closely. But what do you think in your mind is a major problem of this economy, and how do we fix it? I know there are a lot of problems, but briefly tell us, which one do you think is the major problem, and how do we fix it?
Well, my answer will be measured. And the reason is that I'm a member of the National Economic Council, where we sit and discuss issues around the economy. And every idea that I have a platform to ventilate them at the National Economic Council. But I believe that a major problem we have is financial discipline. We are dealing with an economy where we printed so much money. At the last count, I think it must be nearing 30 trillion naira. So what typically happens with ways and means is that the quantum, the basket of goods that you have available in an economy does not increase with the quantity of money you print. So if you had 100 naira, that is the basket of goods will be 100 naira. If tomorrow you decide to print another 200 naira, that same basket of goods will still be worth 300 naira, even though it's 100 naira that is the value. So you find that it does not make economic sense. Maybe in the short run, you may print some money to fill some gaps, but when it becomes an economic policy where you just keep printing and spending money, you are just deceiving yourself, because that does not improve productivity. It does not improve the quantity of goods that you have available within the economy. This is just to break it down in a layman's language. So that is a major problem that we had faced, and that is also the main reason where we are battling with inflation, unemployment, and all the headwinds that we are dealing with. And then in terms of the foreign currency and the exchange rates, just like every other thing, the market functions on the basis of demand and supply. anytime demand outstrips supply, prices will go up. Anytime supply outstrips demand, prices will go down. So anything that happens in between is about the policy options that you have chosen. So that the exchange rate, which in this case is price, is going up, is because something is happening between demand and supply. Demand is not reducing, supply is not increasing. And so that's...
But Governor Otti, would you say that we're on the right track in terms of policy that the federal government is churning out, or there's a need to rejig some of the policies and take a second look at them?
There's always a need to take a second look. There's always a need to rejig. And the National Economic Council meeting, I believe last week, we talked about the need to sit down and rejig and look at this again, because things keep changing. So I cannot say we are where we want to be yet, but I believe that we are making progress. Some of the initiatives that we are taking within the week by the central bank have seen some slight changes happening. For how long it would last, I probably will not be in a position to tell you. But I believe that once in a while, we need to keep looking at the policies again, rejigging them, discussing, and most importantly, looking at, so now we are dealing with forex supply and demand. So what do you do to increase supply of foreign currency? What do you do to reduce the demand? So it's one of those actions, or the two of them together, would give you a price or an outcome that is either better or worse. So the outcome you get, it depends on the inputs. That's where I'll leave it.
Yeah, so I mean, from you are a member, as a member of the Labour Party, governor of the Labour Party, your presidential candidate, Peter Obi, has talked about from consumption to production. And perhaps when we imagine whether or not we're on the right track, but those also who will point the fingers at the state government, who will say FAC allocations have since increased in the last few months. Some of you and your colleagues, what have you done with those allocations, and how are the federating units able also to change things around? Are you able to defend that stance tonight?
Okay, so the issue of production versus consumption yields itself to no debate. If the economy must recover, we must move to production. And that does not necessarily mean that we would reduce consumption. But what it means is that we'll be consuming what we produce. To the extent that we are importing virtually everything, you keep piling pressure on the foreign exchange market. But having said that, going directly to the question you asked, sometimes people look at the currency from an absolute point of view. If exchange rate has changed by, say, 100%, and inflation has gone up by 30%, basically, taking inflation alone, it means that your 100 naira yesterday will only be worth about 70 naira today. So if you are getting 130 naira, maybe you are just at the same place that you were yesterday. So in terms of absolute numbers, yes, the allocations have increased. But in terms of the value of what those naira could afford, you'll probably see that you have actually lost your shirt. So I wouldn't subscribe to the issue that, to the idea that the problems will simply go away because the quantity of naira that you received, when last year, 1 naira probably was equal to 500. I mean, $1 was equal to 500 naira, and today maybe $1,500 naira is equal to $1. So you can do the comparison yourself, and you will find that even if you received more naira, if you look at the exchange rate, the interest rate, the inflation rate, nothing really may have changed. If anything, things may have changed for the worse. So I don't agree that because more money is being shared at the Federal Allocation Committee, that people are better off.
Let me take you back to Abia State. And quickly, I'd like to get your view. Let me speak to what is happening in terms of revenue generation. You presented that budget and of 2024, but there are those who are concerned that there are now faces of those who they tag illegal revenue tax collectors around our area and some parts of the state. Are you doing anything? Because these are fears of medium and small enterprise owners who think that this old narrative is coming back to play.
Well, as a government, we have made it clear that people also have a responsibility to ensure that they do not allow themselves to be extorted or to be taken advantage of by miscreants. We've done our best to clean up the place. We've sent a lot of the miscreants, a lot of the people you call aberus, the touts. We've sent them out of town, engaged some of them that want to be engaged, but we have made it a rule that a collection of levies, revenue of any kind, cannot be done by touts. So, and we also have emergency numbers and have security agencies that people can always invite anytime that somebody shows up to dupe them, because these are all scammers. They don't work for government. We've made it very clear, and we have caught a few of them, and we have dealt with them the way we should. So as a government, we do not patronize touts, and we also made it very, very clear that the people in area market and elsewhere can only pay through the designated bank. So cash payments are no longer allowed. It's only people who do not want to listen to what government has said, and there's nothing we can do about it.
All right.
If you do not want to abide by what the government says, you cannot pay for any revenues or for taxes by cash. You pay through the bank, and a lot of our revenue agents come with POS machines, and you pay directly to the bank. So I want to use this opportunity to also discourage anybody who wants to patronize some of these touts, where we are working hard to ensure that we get rid of all of them from the road.
One of your worries before you came into government was the rising debt profile of Abia State, and you said that the state must be careful, or else that it will be run aground because of the rising debt profile. As it is right now, how are you able to maintain the debt that has been incurred before you get into office? And those who are saying, even you are planning to take some loans.
Yes, okay, so Sheonde, it needs to be contextualized properly. My worry is not really about debt as it is about what the debt is used for. If you inherited a debt profile of 34.5 billion naira by May 29, 2015, and 8 years later, you round that debt to about 192.2 billion naira, and I really can't see anything that you have done with the money. Salaries were not being paid, pensioners were being owed, infrastructure was decaying, the place was going to ruins, schools were run down completely, hospitals were dilapidated. So the issue is, where did the money go? And so if I am taking debts now, and of course I intend to, have not actually taken them, but I will within this financial year, it is going to go into a regenerative expenditure. So if we are building roads, and you see the roads that we are building, if we are retrofitting the Abia State University Teaching Hospital, which we have just finished, and regained the accreditation that was lost 3 years ago. If we are fixing the 15 general hospitals in the state, if we are fixing the 950 or 948 healthcare, primary healthcare facilities in the state, then if I'm taking loan for those, it will be in good place. But when you are taking loans, you are running the state into debt just for consumption, you are not investing anywhere, you are not paying salaries, that's actually what I was speaking about. I do not have, I'm trained as a lender. So the issue should not be about borrowing.
So the state was left in a bad, you made the state in a bad shape. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, very, very bad shape. But I'm not complaining. I've folded my sleeves, and I'm just dealing with what I met here.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining.
One of the things, quickly, because I'm being told that I'm out of time now. One of the things that I wanted you to commit to tonight was one of the promises that you made. You said you were going to embark on a light rail project. When are you commencing that?
Well, we are discussing with a Chinese company, and the discussions are going on well. It's not going to be easy, but it's going to be done. It's not something that you will just start and finish today. So the designs are being done. We'll move from there to commercial issues, and then at the end of the day, we'll do it.
I'd like to extract a final word from you tonight on the program, and it's going to be about doing things differently. Alex Otti, someone who's made a name for himself in the private sector. You wanted to be governor a few times, then you've got it now. Things are really difficult for a lot of Nigerians who faced a lot of hardship. But as a governor of Abia State, a state also that has Abia as a very major commercial hub in the southeast region of the country. If there's something that you want to leave as a legacy, in 30 seconds, what would that be?
I think you answered the question, doing things differently. And I think we have started doing things differently. We have started reining in the cost of governance. We are building lasting infrastructure. Some of the roads that were impassable before now, including Port Harcourt Road in Abia, Cemetery Road also in Abia, we are fixing them, and we are doing them with the best contractors. We are fixing the healthcare delivery system in the state. We are retrofitting the schools. We intend to set up a medical village in Abia State that will be the state-of-the-art medical village to reverse medical tourism.
Governor,
in Nigeria.
I'm totally out of time, Well, I most sincerely thank you, Dr. Alex Otti, Executive Governor of Abia State. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us on the program tonight.
Thank you, Shaun. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too, please.
Bye.